Hello, Jessica Z here with the Astrology coming up. We have a full moon that's going to be happening a week from today. As I'm filming this, March 7th at 6:40 a.m. is the full moon in Virgo. And there's a lot of really interesting astrology that's starting to happen today. And March looks to be a very different month than we've had in a long time. So I'll go over some of those really big shifts that are going to be happening energetically as well. So let's just go over some of the main shifts first. Somewhere I have my notes. All right, so what's happening today on Wednesday, March 1st is Venus is conjunct Jupiter, and both of these planets are stimulating Chiron. So it's the bringing together of the Queen of Heaven and the King, as Jupiter is connected to Thor or Zeus. Some issues that could be coming up are just blatant disrespect of the feminine, ways in which we have devalued the feminine in honor of more kingly values. It's kind of a revisiting of king and queen, sacred mother, sacred father, and hopefully some illumination around the ways in which we might have demonized those characters within ourselves or within other people. Especially if you have a Venus in your chart that is already aspecting Chiron, this is going to be a really important transit to really get what is this transit bringing up for you. And if you find yourself going into a lot of blame and shifting of somebody else, look again, because this is illuminating a personal wound or the way that you wound others. So I've noticed sometimes that the people who tend to hurt other people the most are the ones that feel the most victimized or feel the most justified. Take it or leave it. It's an unawareness of a wound, right? And so it starts to come out sideways. The big shifts are going to be that Saturn ends 3 years in Aquarius and goes into Pisces on March 7th, so same day as the full moon. That's going to be a huge shifting of energy, and it's going to stay in this sign until February of 2026. So the last time Saturn was in Pisces was the years 1993 to 1996. So if you're around at that time, which you probably were, think about the themes that were coming up for you in your life. For me, that was a huge shift in my own spiritual awakening. So I had a really powerful transformation in my own psyche about spirituality and faith, and about my family of origin, where I had kind of closed the door at all of that, and it opened it up in a really new and powerful way. So I'm really looking forward to this transit. I think it'll be a really interesting, Saturn does structures, and it's been in fixed structures of air. So we've seen a lot of talk about regulating planes, and regulating what you can say on the air, and regulating Twitter, and the cancel culture and this kind of stuff the past 3 years. Saturn in Pisces, I would imagine, is going to be much more about the structures of spirituality, the structures of transcendent ideas, or spirituality that is of a human value of what is the best for everybody, what is the ultimate pinnacle and meaning of life even. So Saturn's going to be focused on those kind of structures. So it's a wonderful transit to maybe write a book or do a piece of art, or start to work with those energies coming through of discerning and breaking down old things, Scorpio, that were too fixed in the water, which could be like too heavy feelings, whether it's too much anger or too much depression or too much power, even out of balance, right? Because Scorpio is really about deep power. Saturn's going to be reviewing these things and realigning, creating a new structure for humanity at this time. On March 12th, Jupiter will be exact Chiron. So for like the beginning of March, we're really looking at the wound. And remember, Chiron was a centaur who was wounded, and the centaurs were known to be out of control in the fire element and to be raping the sea maidens. So out of balance in sexual energy to the detriment of women, and kind of this pillaging aspect. And Chiron came in to train the centaurs who, according to the myth, many had given up on. And so coming from the wound, he was able to be a wise teacher. And he is where we get the image of the wounded healer. So healing sexual wounds, healing wounds of being preyed upon, or being, what happens in war, those kinds of very like big generational wounds, where we may have too, as children, sided with power in order to survive, and burned up in a way too much of our own innocence and self. So a reclaiming of that sexual energy, a purification of it as well, I see happening. Okay, what else is going on? So much is going on. March 19th, Mercury will go into Aries. March 20th, the Sun will go into Aries. During our full moon, if you recall, the last full moon in Leo was when we had the Chinese spy balloons, whatever is happening with those were shot down. And then that was also about the time where we had the huge earthquake in Turkey. So that transit had some intense squares that activated the square between Uranus and Saturn that has been happening for the past couple of years, and we were kind of past that, but with the moon being where it was, it illuminated again. And in a very literal way, the structures on Earth, as Uranus is electrical energy, and Saturn is that air sign, solid structures. So we're going through those things that are not, it's a stress test. Think of it that way. It's like a stress test of what's really stable. So at this full moon, the Virgo full moon, there are new squares. This time it's Mars squaring Neptune. And that energy is we're already feeling Mars square Neptune right now. It's just going to be more exact at the full moon and more intensified with the transits. So I heard someone say that Mars square Neptune is that energy of like the anger and the frustration of like, what the hell is going on? Mars being wanting to like penetrate and cut through the bullshit, and Neptune being one given the bullshit, or just that nebulous, mysterious layer upon layer of confusion or hiding, and Mars is like trying to cut through that. So there could be that energy of frustration around a lack of clarity that we might be feeling right now about a particular situation, or anger that things are continuing to be very nebulous. You might find yourself on either side, adding more mystery or penetrating and trying to cut through that. On the 16th of March, Venus is going to go into Taurus, where she is exalted. And so that'll be some really beautiful energy come the middle of the month. On the 17th of March, the Sun and Mercury are going to square Mars. So it's about the 16th, 17th. And the March 15th, the Sun is conjunct Neptune. That's a bunch of stuff that I just said really fast, so I'll go over some more of that. Okay, let's look at the transits in particular for this full moon. So here is the chart that I'm working with. You can see right off the bat that there is a grand square for this full moon in Virgo. So that's the main feature. And the square is that it's tension and it's just grinding and grinding. There's not a release from the tension. It's like that pressure that makes a diamond. So the square is between the sun, which interestingly enough, Medusa asteroid is conjunct the sun in Pisces. It's squaring Mars. So sun square Mars, that's a lot of heat. And so it's with water sign and air sign. So I'm thinking of like torpedoes and boats or waves or military battles that might involve the water. Mars is also squaring the moon on the other side of the square, and then it's squaring the midheaven, or the point that's right above the sky for this event. And the midheaven is at a Sabian degree that reads men cutting through ice. So there we have, again, that imagery of like the dedication and the using the tools and the discipline and the force to cut through something. So that energy is going to be very potent, I believe, at this full moon. So let's look at some of the Sabian symbols for where the other planets are located. One thing that I found super interesting is that for this full moon, Jupiter is on one side of Chiron at 1321. Venus is on the other side of Chiron at 1816. Chiron's at 1411. And Venus is conjunct Shiva for this full moon. So at the new moon, we had, just before the new moon, like the day before, we had Shiva Ratri. It was the night of Shiva. And so at the end of this moon cycle, it's interesting that Shiva asteroid is conjunct Venus. So it's a really interesting, beautiful picture maybe of Shiva and Shakti, of the divine masculine, the divine feminine, and bringing some support there, likely to Venus as she's gone through an initiation with a purification of the primal wound with Chiron. All right, some other interesting asteroids, goddess asteroids. I have Kali. She's at the very end of Taurus, and she's making a trine with Pluto. Kali is the fierce aspect of the feminine, is going to be flowing very well with Pluto, Lord of the Underworld. So again, energies could be very electric. This is earth energies. So again, Pluto is going to be dissolving structures that are no longer working on Earth. Kali is going to be feeding that fire with her rage and passion for justice and to help restore the creation. She was sent by Ra in some of the tales to come to Earth and to help humanity because they had become too barbaric. Another trine is that the moon is conjunct Lilith. So we have the sun conjunct Medusa, the moon conjunct Lilith, Kali trining Pluto, and that the Lilith and the moon are trining Uranus in Taurus. So another earth trine, a very powerful force of energy, this time really adding that electrical Uranian element to the Lilith moon of Virgo energies. Those degrees, the moon is at 1640. That degree in Virgo is a volcano eruption, a release of emotional blocks. Okay, so it's intense, but also it could feel really good, right? To let some stuff go that's built up for a long time. The vertex at 20 degrees is a girls' basketball team. And the Lilith asteroid, 1718, is a Ouija board. So we have to do a little bit with like groups of the feminine working together, erupting huge emotional blocks, and a little bit of magic here, okay? Across that is the sun and Medusa. 16 Pisces is about an Easter promenade. It's about public ritual and celebrating new life. So although these energies can seem very powerful and destructive, and we might see more of that kind of eruptions on Earth, ultimately it's for new life. It's celebrating the power of the human spirit to rise like the phoenix from the depths of the human situation. We're going to have 2 new moons coming up in Aries. And these new moons are coming with eclipses. And so that's also going to initiate a lot of new energy for the next year. And Aries is that fire sign. It's ready to start and go and start something. And it's not necessarily thinking through all the details. It's just like that life force of spring. It's just rising up and it's just going without really thinking about the structures. So that's going to be super powerful. So wherever you have your Aries and Libra houses, that's going to be the places where your natal chart will be stimulated to have great endings and great beginnings. So be mindful of those big shifts. Eclipses usually bring about great changes. Okay, what else do I have? Another really big transit happening is that Pluto is leaving Capricorn and going into Aquarius. So whereas Pluto's been kind of taking down structures on Earth that aren't working, whether it's governmental structures or physical structures even. We've seen a lot of that. Buildings collapse with Pluto and Capricorn when it gets stimulated. When it moves into Aquarius, the fixed air, Pluto will be breaking down the things that are too fixed, maybe fixed thoughts, fixed ideas, whatever is not going to survive the stress tests. And again, Pluto, it can be dark and scary, but it's death and rebirth. It's the phoenix. So liberation from the Maya or from patterns of thinking that have gone on for too many generations. So Pluto's going to be really stimulating the way in which we communicate. And then Aquarius is really about sharing the gifts of the gods with humans. So it could also be, again, enlightenment or access to technologies that can be very helpful for humanity. So that is going to happen at the end of March. The very end of March is like a cliffhanger. When Pluto goes into Aquarius, we'll get a taste of what that's like. It'll dip back into Capricorn for a little bit, and then we'll be moving on. And that is a long transit, right? March 23rd, Pluto goes into Aquarius, and it's basically there until 2044. So that's a significant amount of time. It has been in Capricorn since 2008. So it's been a few centuries since Pluto has been in Aquarius. So this will be a really interesting shaping of the next 20 years with the energies of the humanitarianism that comes with the Aquarian outlook on life. Okay. All right. Yeah. Those are kind of the main features of the chart and of the energies coming up for March. And I'm going to share a little card pull. This is from my beautiful Shaman Tree of Life deck here. And just asking the divine court to give us best guidance this time through these intense transits. What symbols, pictures, images do we need to see that is of service to our best path at this time? What's our present collective situation? That one. What is something that we can learn from, move on from, or release? And what is it that we can focus on as we look forward? This one. Okay. All right, so our present situation with this full moon is, yeah, just remembering that sacred balance of the elements, but of the masculine and feminine forces within the elements, the hieros gamos, the lovers, the forest lovers, Maid Marian and Robin Hood, the Green Man, the Green Woman, those kind of energies. And spring and Beltane too, right? With the poles. So lots of symbolism of new life there. That's the situation. New love too, right? That fresh love of new love. The excitement of that too. All right, something that we can let go of, move away from. All that snow and the winter. This poor girl. Yeah, the Eight of Arrows, the struggle. Let go of the struggle. In the deep of winter, it just like snowed 19 inches here today, so that's definitely a message that I'm ready to hear. Something to focus on as we move through these transits. There it is. The bliss, right? Being in that divine energy where this is the cups, it's all balanced, and the 9 of vessels. So 9 is a very sacred feminine number. Emotional harmony with oneself, so that you're just radiating out the beauty of your own spirit. Spiritual enlightenment too, right? It has to do with themes that Saturn's going to be bringing up when Saturn moves into into Pisces. So yeah, spiritual bliss. Focus on the bliss and the inner harmony. Okay. All right, thanks so much for tuning in. And if you'd like to have a personal reading, I would be honored to draw up your chart and talk about how these transits will be affecting your natal chart and help guide you through these energies as a listener, and also as someone who's tuning into the cosmic energies that are available to support us at this time. Wishing you the very best and good luck.